Absolutely wild few days for the Philadelphia Eagles, huh? Just when you thought the initial roster cuts would settle things down, Howie Roseman and the front office went straight into overdrive, shaking up the depth chart and setting off a new wave of speculation among fans. We're talking cuts, returns, surprise signings, and even trade rumors involving some pretty big names. And no, the Birds are far from done. It's clear they're keeping that foot on the gas as the regular season approaches. And if this week's moves are any indication, the Eagles are building something aggressive, bold, and deep. So let's dive into all of it. First off, the Eagles didn't just trim the roster to 53 players and call it a day. They made a statement. Several names that made the initial cut were let go the very next day. One of the most head-turning cases was offensive lineman Trevor Keegan. The guy had just earned a spot, and then boom, released less than 24 hours later. That alone sparked a flurry of questions. But then came the answer. The team scooped up center Willie Lampkin, a former Ram, and brought him into the mix. That move was as surprising as it was intriguing. Lampkin might be undersized for a center at 5'11", but he's quick, versatile, and coming off a preseason where he earned the highest PFF grade among all offensive linemen. Clearly, Jeff Stoutland sees something there. The Eagles don't waste roster spots on development projects unless they believe there's a real payoff down the line, especially on the offensive line. Meanwhile, back on the defensive side of the ball, a familiar face made his return. Marcus Epps. A former starter for Philly in that dominant 2022 Super Bowl run, Epps brings depth, experience, and familiarity with the Eagles system. His road hasn't been smooth since he left the Birds. After a short and injury-riddled stint with the Raiders, followed by a quick trip to New England where he didn't even make the final roster, Epps is back home. Now, he's not without flaws. Coverage has always been a bit of a weak spot, but as far as backup safeties go, you could do a whole lot worse. He knows the system, he knows the culture, and he's proven he can be trusted when his number is called. But the big question looming over all of this is, are the Eagles done making moves? And based on what Howie Roseman had to say, absolutely not. He's made it clear that he's going to stay aggressive, and he's got the draft capital to back that up. Early season evaluations will be critical. Positions like safety and cornerback are still very much in flux. If younger guys like Sidney Brown or Andrew McCullough don't quite deliver early on, don't be surprised if Howie pulls the trigger on a trade before we even hit October. And speaking of trades, the rumor mill has been buzzing lately, especially with whispers linking the Eagles to not one, but two high-upside edge rushers, Trayvon Walker and Jalen Phillips. Now, Walker's name has been floated around Eagles circles for a while, and it makes sense. He's a former number 1 overall pick, a Georgia guy, a player who already has ties to some of the Birds' young defensive stars like Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. Statistically, he's coming off back-to-back double-digit sack seasons, so the production is there. But here's the kicker. The cost to acquire him is reportedly steep. We're talking a first-round pick, a mid-rounder, and possibly a player like Khalil Ringo, just to start the conversation. On top of that, Walker's contract situation isn't exactly a bargain. He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal, including a 5th-year option, and those cap hits rise to nearly $12 and then $15 million. Add in the likelihood that he'll be seeking a lucrative extension soon after, and you start to see the financial gymnastics this would require, especially for a team already navigating some heavy contracts. Now, Jalen Phillips? That might be a different story. The Dolphins' edge rusher has had trouble staying healthy, which could lower his trade value, but when he's on the field, the talent jumps out. He posted 6.5 sacks in just 8 games last year before going down with an injury. That kind of production, when healthy, is the kind of upside the Eagles love to gamble on. He's also heading into the final year of his rookie contract, and with the Dolphins recently investing in Matthew Judon, Phillips might suddenly be the odd man out in Miami. That means the Eagles could potentially snag him at a more reasonable price than Walker. The risk is there, no doubt, but so is the reward. If you trust your medical staff and believe in your system, adding a guy like Phillips could be a sneaky win-now move without completely mortgaging the future. And while all this buzz is flying around the top of the depth chart, the Eagles have also been hard at work building out the practice squad. There's some real talent in that group. Players like Kenyon Green, Patrick Johnson, and Eli Ricks headline the bunch, And it's especially great to see Rick's back in the building. He flashed real promise in the preseason. And then there's the signing of running back Audric Estime, who comes over from Denver. A power back with upside. He could end up being more than just a reserve option if injuries strike. This kind of depth building is classic Eagles. Layered insurance policies across key positions, ready to be activated at a moment's notice. And then there's Darius Cooper. What a story this guy is. From a zero-star recruit at Tarleton State to making the Eagles' 53-man roster, it's the kind of underdog arc Philly fans live for. This kid didn't just squeak onto the roster. He earned it with a standout camp, making plays all summer long in a loaded wide receiver room. He's built like a prototype and just oozes potential. Keep an eye on him because he's not just a feel-good story. He might actually be a contributor this season. But what about the return game? That's still one of the more unsettled areas on the roster. There isn't a clear-cut return specialist among the starters, and as good as Cooper DeJean was returning punts last season, having one of your top defensive players back there every week feels like an unnecessary risk. There are other candidates, maybe Jahan Dotson, maybe even Darius Cooper, but there's one name floating out there that might make the most sense of all, Britton Covey. Yes, he's back on the market after being waived by the Rams. Yes, he's small at 5'8" and has a history of injuries. But when healthy, Covey was one of the top returners in the league for Philly in both 2022 and 2023. He knows the system, he's comfortable with the special teams unit, and most importantly, he's electric. It wouldn't be a shock at all to see the Eagles bring him back to the practice squad and possibly elevate him for Week 1 if he's good to go. Let's start with the reality of what this front office is doing differently. It's not just about building a talented roster. It's about constructing the most flexible, adaptable, and injury-resistant team possible. In the modern NFL, depth isn't a luxury, it's survival. And while fans may get attached to names that flash during preseason, the Eagles are making tough calls based on scheme fit, long-term potential, and most importantly, versatility. That's why you saw guys like Anias Smith, a promising young receiver, get scooped up by Carolina. That's why someone like Kendall Lamb went right back to the Dolphins. These are talented players, but the Eagles had other priorities, other prototypes in mind. And sometimes it means letting go of development guys in favor of more plug-and-play options or veteran pieces that bring experience and a higher floor. Now, when it comes to veterans, Marcus Epps returning might not seem like the kind of move that sets the league on fire. But if you've been watching the Eagles over the years, you know these are the signings that matter. The ones that come in quietly, fill a gap, stabilize a unit, and allow the stars around them to thrive. Epps may not be a Pro Bowl player, but he knows the defensive language, he's battle-tested, and he's going to compete. And let's be honest, the safety position is one of the most open-ended spots on this roster right now. The team is clearly in evaluation mode. Sidney Brown, Mukuba, now Epps, all with different strengths and weaknesses, all under the microscope. Don't be shocked if by mid-season someone not even on the team yet ends up starting back there. That's just how fluid this position group is. And that same fluidity applies to the trenches. The Eagles have made it a habit to keep the offensive and defensive line stacked, and they're doing it again this year. Bringing in Willie Lampkin, despite his size and injury concerns, sends a clear message. They want athleticism and scheme versatility up front. They're not married to measurables. They're married to movement, to mobility, to execution. Lampkin fits that mold. He's a project, yes, but one with real upside. And if there's any O-line coach in the NFL who can turn upside into a starter, it's Jeff Stoutland. You look at what he's done over the years. Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, even Jason Kelce back in the day, and it's clear that if he signs off on a guy, there's a reason. But the more you look at this roster, the more it becomes obvious that it's built with the long haul in mind. Yes, it's loaded with elite starters, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Hasten Reddick, Darius Slay, Jalen Carter, the list goes on, but it's the back half of the depth chart that tells the real story. These aren't just placeholders. These are players the team believes can develop into contributors, and in some cases, stars. Darius Cooper is a prime example of that. From undrafted out of Tarleton State to making the roster over players with draft pedigree, his camp performance was nothing short of spectacular. He made plays, he looked the part, And most importantly, he made it impossible to cut him. His size, speed, and ball skills give him real upside as a future starter. And in a league where wide receiver injuries pile up quickly, don't be shocked if Cooper ends up making a real impact this season. And then there's the return game, probably the one area that still feels like a major question mark. The team clearly doesn't want Cooper DeJean back there full-time. He's too important on defense, and the risk-reward balance just isn't worth it. They've got guys who can fill in, maybe even handle the job respectably. But if the goal is to field a true game-changer back there, then bringing back Britton Covey starts to make a lot of sense. It's almost surprising it hasn't already happened. The guy was dynamic for them not too long ago. Yes, he's undersized. Yes, he's coming off an injury. But he's fearless, elusive, and experienced in the very role the team needs filled. And given how razor-thin margins can be in special teams, having someone you trust fielding punts in crunch time isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. Now, if we zoom back out and look at the bigger picture, you realize how much of this current Eagles build is about optionality. Not just who starts, but who backs up. Not just who's active on game day, but who's waiting on the practice squad, ready to be elevated at a moment's notice. Guys like Patrick Johnson, Eli Ricks, and Kenyon Green coming back to the team after being waived as a win. These are players who can contribute down the line, and in some cases, might have already been poached by other teams if Philly didn't act fast. And adding someone like Audric Estime from outside the organization shows that the Eagles are scouting more than just their own backyard. They're scanning the entire league for possible edges, and that's why they stay ahead of the curve. Injuries always play a role in these decisions, and the team got a mixed bag of updates this week. The big one, of course, is Nakobe. Starting the year on the PUP list isn't ideal, but it's not unexpected either. What's more encouraging is his own confidence. Posting "See y'all week 5" on social media gives fans hope that he'll be back sooner rather than later. The question is, what version of Dean are we getting? If it's the dynamic playmaker from last season, then the defense gets a huge boost. But if he's slowed down by that patellar injury, it could open the door for someone like Giad Campbell to steal reps and maybe even hold onto them longer than expected. On offense, the return of A.J. Brown is huge. He's the kind of player that defenses have to game plan around, and having him at full strength week 1 sets the tone for the entire season. Same goes for Landon Dickerson. When he's on the field, the offensive line is a top 5 unit in football. Without him, it's still good but not dominant. And with Jason Kelce heading into what could be his final year, having a fully healthy interior line is more important than ever. So seeing Dickerson back at practice post-surgery was a welcome sight, and honestly, a bit of a relief. Andrew Mukuba not practicing, on the other hand, is something to monitor. The hamstring issue lingers, and with Sidney Brown trying to solidify his role, any missed time could cost Mukuba a starting opportunity. The team will be patient. They always are with injuries, but there's only so much time before the depth chart starts to lock in. Now let's get back to the trade chatter. Even though it's just speculation at this point, the idea that Howie Roseman could swing one more major move is absolutely real. He's done it before. He's never been shy about giving up draft picks for talent, and if there's a deal out there that makes sense financially and schematically, he'll find it. The question is, what's the priority? Edge rusher makes sense, especially with Brandon Graham aging and Derek Barnett long gone. If you could slot someone like Jalen Phillips into that rotation, suddenly you've got waves of pressure coming at quarterbacks all game. It's already a top-tier defensive line, but in Philly, they don't settle for top-tier. They want historic. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The Philadelphia Eagles are reportedly in a state of sheer excitement and anticipation as whispers circulate through the league about a potential signing that could redefine their offensive landscape. According to insiders who have been following team developments closely, Marcus Williams, a player whose reputation precedes him with a mix of admiration and envy across rival franchises, is rumored to be on the verge of joining the Eagles roster. Fans and analysts alike have been speculating for weeks, dissecting every subtle social media hint, every cryptic comment from team management, and every sudden change in training camp dynamics. The buzz is particularly intense in Philadelphia, where the fan base, known for its fervor and deep emotional investment in the team's success, is reportedly bracing for what could be one of the most talked-about acquisitions in recent history. Sources suggest that behind closed doors, executives have been negotiating fiercely to ensure that Williams would bring not only his athletic prowess, but also his leadership qualities, a combination that could inject a fresh sense of momentum into the team. If the rumors hold true, the Eagles front office may have pulled off a maneuver that shakes up expectations across the league, raising questions about how the addition of such a high-caliber player might influence game strategy, locker room dynamics, and the trajectory of the season ahead. The story is spreading quickly, and the city seems to be caught in a whirlwind of speculation and hope. What makes this potential move particularly tantalizing for the Eagles is the timing, which coincides with a period of reflection and recalibration for the team. Reports indicate that discussions about Marcus Williams have been ongoing for months, with scouts, analysts, and even former players offering their assessments of his impact on both offense and special teams. The intrigue is fueled not just by Williams' reputation as a dynamic and versatile player, but by the mysterious aura that seems to surround his next career move. Every appearance, every tweet, and every cryptic comment has become a source of intense scrutiny, leaving fans and pundits piecing together clues like detectives trying to solve a complex puzzle. Within the Eagles organization, there is speculation that the potential acquisition could signal a broader strategic shift, one that prioritizes adaptability and high-impact plays over traditional approaches. Industry insiders suggest that Williams' unique skill set aligns perfectly with the team's evolving vision, hinting at a future where unconventional tactics might dominate. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the sense of anticipation has taken on a life of its own, creating a narrative that is as much about the possibilities as it is about the player himself. As the rumor mill churns relentlessly, the city of Philadelphia appears to be holding its collective breath, ready to embrace what could become a defining chapter in Eagles history. The excitement surrounding Marcus Williams has reached levels that make ordinary preseason chatter seem almost mundane, as fans, media, and commentators speculate feverishly about his potential fit within the Eagles system. Rumors suggest that Williams' arrival would not merely be an addition to the roster, but a transformative event capable of altering the psychological makeup of the team. Analysts have been dissecting footage of his previous performances, debating how his speed, agility, and tactical awareness could complement the Eagles' existing offensive and defensive structures. There is talk of secret training sessions, clandestine strategy meetings, and subtle hints dropped during interviews, all feeding a narrative that the team is preparing for a seismic shift. According to insiders, discussions within the Eagles organization revolve not only around his on-field contributions, but also his off-field influence, from leadership in the locker room to mentoring younger talent who could benefit from his experience. The rumor has become so pervasive that even rival teams are reportedly keeping tabs, concerned that the addition of Williams could create a new benchmark of performance in the league. Social media platforms are ablaze with speculation, debates, and even memes about what his jersey number might be, reflecting the intensity of anticipation and engagement among the fan base. The story seems to be evolving every day, leaving the impression that the Eagles' impending move is not just a transaction, but a statement of intent, signaling their determination to shake up the competition and redefine expectations across the NFL landscape. Speculation has intensified further due to the subtle signals being interpreted by fans as hints of a larger strategy involving Marcus Williams. Observers point to his reported presence at team facilities, sightings near practice fields, and interactions with current Eagles players that suggest familiarity and comfort, fueling the narrative that a deal could be imminent. Commentators are noting the alignment between his style of play and the tactical needs of the Eagles, theorizing how his speed, adaptability, and awareness might unlock previously untapped opportunities on the field. Rumors also suggest that negotiations have involved complex discussions about contract terms, incentives, and potential clauses, underscoring the high stakes associated with bringing such a marquee player into the fold. Behind the scenes, sources indicate that the coaching staff is exploring adjustments to formations and playbooks to maximize the impact of Williams' unique abilities, signaling that the team is preparing not just for a single edition, but for a potential revolution in how games could be approached strategically. Fans are responding with equal intensity, sharing theories, creating visualizations of potential plays, and speculating on how the chemistry between Williams and current stars could evolve. The air in Philadelphia seems charged with possibility, a sense that history could be in the making if the whispers are true. The city is poised, holding its breath as the rumor takes on a life of its own, blurring the lines between speculation and reality while creating an electric atmosphere that speaks to the deep connection between team and community. Adding to the intrigue, sources indicate that Marcus Williams' rumored arrival has sparked a wave of discussions among former Eagles players, league analysts, and even opponents, all weighing in on the potential ramifications for both the team and the broader NFL landscape. Conversations suggest that his versatility could provide the Eagles with unprecedented flexibility, allowing them to exploit mismatches, innovate on play design, and introduce a level of unpredictability that opponents would find difficult to counter. Insiders speculate that Williams' presence might also impact morale and internal dynamics, injecting energy, confidence, and a competitive edge that could ripple throughout the squad. The buzz has extended beyond the field, influencing fan culture, merchandise speculation, and social media trends, as enthusiasts imagine scenarios, dream up highlight reels, and debate his potential contributions with a fervor reminiscent of championship-level anticipation. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.